Well, good afternoon and welcome to day 4 of the Rebel Caravan. We've got an exciting show. We've had 3 great stops, but today we're getting our pump on. It's Flex Friday starring strength coach Matt Fyle and athletic director Dietary Francois. And just to go over some housekeeping items here, please, if you have any questions for Coach Fyle, to use that Q&A tab there, and you can also be eligible for some awesome prizes, which we will announce throughout this program. But first, let's go to our athletic director, Dietary Francois.
Thank you, John, and it is such a privilege to be here with all of you today. I'm looking forward to, whenever I see Coach Fyle, I know the energy is going to be amazing. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. And while it has been a challenging time these past few months, and these last 16, 17 days especially, they've also been opportunities for us to really reflect and think about what matters most. It's also been a wonderful opportunity for us to have great, meaningful conversations with our student athletes and recognize that we come at this with an open heart and a desire for understanding. So I'm really looking forward to the future. And a big part of that future is the stadium. I'm sure we're going to talk more about that, but that stadium is world class. Coach Arroyo and I had the privilege of, we went on another tour of it last week, and it's really outstanding, and it's a game changer for us for sure. So we can't wait to see it packed with Rebels and just beaming with red. So I know we all want to hear from Coach Fyle, so I'm going to turn it back over to you, John.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dietary. And talk about a guy with a diverse and dynamic background. Coach Fyle, you've been a lot of places, but first, your journey after high school began with the military. If you could just go into why you decided to serve.
Yeah, I mean, sitting in English class the senior year of high school, flip on the TV, and there it was, September 11th, 2001. Army recruiter was at my house that night, convincing my mom that it was okay to sign the papers, and 2 weeks later, it was a done deal. So graduated that next year, and August of 2002, off we go. So 3 years in the 82nd Airborne, 9 months in Iraq, and then yeah, I mean, it's definitely made me who I am, and it was such an honor to serve this country.
You talk about how that made you who you are. Could you expand on that? How did you grow as a man in your ideals of service?
Well, you know, an 18-year-old kid, you get put in different situations. You're given structure, a culture, and a brotherhood, really. You know, we talk about, even during football practice, you know, who do you want in your foxhole? Well, I got to live that real life, right? You know, we don't, in the military, you don't say, you know, you made it home on your own, right? You made it home because of the guy to your left and the guy to your right. So, you know, relying on your brother to always have your six, and it's, you know, translates over to a football team, you know, the camaraderie within the locker room, the energy working together towards a common goal. I mean, it's a direct correlation.
Your personality certainly suits being a strength coach, but how does your background lead up to you being where you are today at UNLV?
Yep. So really, after the military, you know, that was my first exposure to real life. You know, I was in high school, obviously, and then going to the military. You're laid out. Your day, your minutes are laid out by structure, you know, following orders and things like that. And then you get out, and it's real life, right? It's the real world. So, you know, I spent a few years trying to find my way. You know, something was missing, and I really couldn't put my thumb on it until I got an opportunity to go and work with the Atlanta Falcons. I started out as an unpaid intern and ended up getting hired and was a seasonal assistant. And being in that locker room around professionals, even at a, you know, mid-20s, relatively younger age, that was it. It was like a light bulb. You know, what I'd been missing for 3 or 4 years, there it was, right in my face. And then to be able to, you know, have an impact on them professionally, even at that level and in a young stage of my career, you know, was huge. And then you transition over to collegiate sports. And then that's when I really started to find my niche and my why. You know, now you're working with 17 to 22-year-old athletes aspiring to be professionals, aspiring to be future leaders and CEOs, and, you know, being able to shape and mold these young men that was it. That's how I knew right then and there that that's what I wanted to do. Collegiate athletics, strength and conditioning, and really having an impact.
Desiree, go ahead.
Thank you. Coach, one thing I love is walking into your weight room and seeing you interact with our student athletes. You seem like you're built for the college game, but you've been in the NFL and you bring that level of expertise as well. What's the difference between the college game and the NFL, and why do you gravitate towards the college game?
I think, when these guys become professionals, they kind of work, they're their own business, and they kind of follow their lines. And for a strength and conditioning coach, you don't necessarily get to interact with them as much at the professional level. They have their own private trainers. But in the collegiate setting, I'm around these guys 365 days a year. If I'm not in front of them, we're texting, so having that annual impact and interaction with these guys is not something that you can do at the professional level. So it's amazing.
It's much more than just a workout.
Oh, we were talking the other day, and how does it feel being back at work? I'm like, listen, I haven't worked a day in my life since I started this career. This is amazing. I'm blessed every day.
Thank you.
And Coach, you talk about maybe life's two greatest diverse platforms, the military. You meet everybody from all backgrounds, and the locker room. How has that shaped with today's landscape, today's climate, where we're pushing for social justice and reform? How has that shaped your views, despite you definitely serving the country and serving the flag?
Yeah, I mean, it has a huge impact. Obviously, the world is changing, and it needs to change. I've been asked, how as the head strength conditioning coach at UNLV, how do you give advice for these student athletes and their platform and how to use it? And my answer is pretty simple. I'm a 36-year-old white guy. I'm not going to tell a 17 to 22-year-old black man how to use his platform, but I can tell you two things are going to happen. I'm going to be a part of the change, and I'm going to be a part of the solution. And within these locker room, I interact. I've FaceTimed, when we were in quarantine, and had many meaningful conversations, not only with our leadership group, but across our team, top to bottom, regardless of race. And we've talked, we've communicated with each other as this family, as a brotherhood. We hashtag family. Don't get me wrong. On social media, we are hashtag family. It's funny, if you could dive into my text messages, hashtag family. Hashtag, it's more than just a hashtag for us. And it starts with communicating, being open and honest. But at the end of the day, supporting one another,
And Coach, we got our first question from a viewer. This is from Mike D. Coach, thank you for your service to our country. Did you play football in high school? And if so, which position?
Played a little bit of football in high school. I played a little bit of tight end. And then they tried me at quarterback. I stopped growing at about 5'9.5", so it didn't really work out that well for either position. But I gave it my all when I was in there.
Oh, that's great. And if you look at your resume, it's impressive. Not only the Falcons, you were also at Oregon with Coach Arroyo for a time, and then went across the country to another Power 5 school in Maryland. So why UNLV?
Well, I'll tell you, you kind of mentioned Coach Arroyo and I being at Oregon together. What nobody knows is Coach Arroyo and I, we worked out together. We trained at Oregon. And it's during those training sessions when you talk about real life, you talk about philosophies, and you talk about vision, right? I knew Coach Arroyo's philosophy 2.5 years ago. I knew his vision for a program 2.5 years ago, and it's continued to evolve. And we've had tons of dialogue back and forth. So when the opportunity presented itself for Coach Arroyo to come to UNLV, that was a simple phone call, right? Because I trust that man with this program, with these kids, with my career, and at the same time, then he's like, okay, I understand you want to come with Coach Arroyo. Let me tell you what's going on at UNLV, right? Because he's like, you're going to call your wife and you're going to say, hey, you want to go back across the country. So let me tell you, the momentum. Right. And he's FaceTiming me outside at like 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night, FaceTiming, showing me the building, talking about Allegiant Stadium. I mean, $2 billion stadium that UNLV Rebels are going to call home. the Fertitta Football Complex. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing right here.
This is a virtual Caravan.
I mean, if you can't get it done here, I need to turn my cards in. Tell you what.
Well, Coach, talk about, you've seen facilities from coast to coast. How does the FFC compare?
Top notch. It's one of the best weight rooms I've ever been a part of. It was built to train a football program. A lot of facilities across the country were something before they turned it into a football weight room. This was designed to train Division I football players, and it's from the turf going down the middle, the 16 state-of-the-art racks, the flooring, the dumbbells, everything translates to building a successful football program. So, I mean, it's amazing.
And we've got our first winner today taking home the Raising Cane's gift basket is Lance E., a member of the UNLV marketing team. Will be in touch, Lance. Congratulations. Now, Coach, you look at that weight room and you look at this program that's ready to just blossom, but you've got 105 different personalities you need to cater to. Can you describe that challenge?
Yeah, you know what? It's like that across the country, but you start by hiring great men, right? So the Fertitta Football Complex, I just showed you, it's an amazing, I mentioned state-of-the-art racks, but it's all for naught if it's not filled with high quality, low ego individuals, right? So it started with hiring my staff, Coach Garcia and Coach Simmons. I'm loud, I have energy, and they have energy as well. But if I hired two other me's, then it's just all the time, right? So by hiring the staff, you know, Coach Simmons has relationships that maybe I don't have along the roster, right? So some guys feel comfortable going to him and opening up, right? Or Coach Garcia on the other hand. So it's imperative across the board. While we all build these meaningful relationships, you know, at the end of the day, like you said, it's 105 different personalities. So, you know, I've got to read the room. Coach Garcia checks me every now and then. If he picks up a guy's kind of dragging or not feeling it, you know, he'll kind of pump the brakes on me a little bit for that individual or for that group, you know, at that time. So, you know, it's definitely reading the room. But the meaningful relationships is where it all starts.
And you talk about personalities and guys. I mean, you've got to know some of them, right? And I think we probably have one here as a surprise. Justice, welcome, my man.
My man right there.
What's going on, y'all?
This is Justice Oluwaseun, a starting lineman, perhaps an all-conference lineman. I mean, what a great talent from Texas, and he's here and he's embracing the program. And Justice, just talk about what it's like to be in this high-energy program that Coach Fyle has set up.
Man, it's like it's kind of surreal, to be honest, because just like, you know, Coach Fyle brings a different type of energy that I haven't seen before. Like he comes every day from day one. Like when I haven't met him and he came up to me and he just, the way he was talking and the way he was just energetic, I'm like, oh, this guy's a little crazy. And I don't see any pictures of him. He had the little like camera thing, and I was like, I think this guy's crazy. But like when he came in, he was being genuine and like coming with a lot of energy and coming in. Like I remember one time he came in and got us a DJ for a workout, and we were working out with a DJ. He was going dancing, going crazy with it. And having somebody like that to push me and like push the rest of the team, it's really good.
Contagious, right?
You said what?
It's contagious, right, Justice?
I mean, it's very contagious, very contagious. Like, it's so easy to grab onto. And with Coach Fyle, like, even Coach Simmons, Coach Garcia, they all come together and just, like, you know, push us with their energy and say, let's go, and we're going to have a party while we're doing it. And they even jump in and do the workout with us. So I respect that. So, like, having somebody doing four or five on squat, that's as a coach, that's a different type of mentality. So
yeah, we're not at your level, Justice. You know, I'm working on it, man.
I don't know about that one.
You're throwing up, you know, that's a different kind of weight right there.
Well, Justice, you saw this guy sleeveless with the beard. I mean, it was just fire coming out of his eyes. Admit you were a little taken aback at first, right?
Oh, for sure. Like, because when he got hired, the first picture I saw was with him. I think he was at Maryland, and he had the picture with the big hammer and the beard. He was just like screaming, muscling it up, and who is this guy? Like, this is the guy that's supposed to come tell us how to lift weight. But when he came down here, and yeah, I'm not gonna say he didn't have the same energy. He definitely had that energy he had in that picture, but it's, you know, it's all good and it's all out of fun and love, and you know, he's just trying to push us to be the best we can be.
And one more, Justice. What's it like to be back on campus? You know, with this uncertain climate of college football, to be back with your brothers, preparing for that 2020 campaign.
It's just like, it really makes me count my blessings, just because, you know, things can be taken away just as you can get them. So, you know, having that 3-month period off and, you know, being by myself and being isolated and like not having like that same brotherly bond, family bond that I'm used to having every day, because football was an everyday thing. It was you know, it was kind of hard, but when, you know, they did a good job doing the Zoom calls and, you know, texting us every day and like calling us every day and just individual calls just to try to keep that family bond and family ties together. And then finally they said June 8th, you can finally come back and start lifting. I mean, getting back in the weight room, that's a different thing for me. But like, it's just getting there and seeing my brothers again, even if it's just 10 to 11 guys that are allowed to be there at that time. Just having, you know, those people around me to help me push and help me like, okay, these are the reasons why I'm, you know, playing football, and like I have my brothers who are counting on me, so I have to push myself, and the people around me are looking at me, so I have to push them too, and they're gonna push me, and it's just a whole community.
Awesome. Thank you so much for jumping in. The best kind of surprise. Justice Olusegun, a starting lineman, all-conference talent from Texas to Las Vegas, and certainly reps the UNLV brand wonderfully. So thank you, my man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Justice.
No problem.
And we've got another question, Coach. This is from Lori C. Are you involved with helping the student athletes with their meal plans and making good dietary choices?
So a little bit, yeah. We're involved for sure, but we have an amazing dietitian in Nicole Kiley who is around our guys every time they step into this building, from the fueling stations to the amazing dining hall that we have here in the FFC. So she's really involved with our guys from an individual plans to then mass, you know, team meals and things like that. So I kind of assist, you know, on that front, but and let her kind of stay, you know, running the show on that.
But it correlates. I mean, you can't live without each other.
The first thing I tell, you know, if we have a recruiting presentation, and really the first thing I told the team when I got here is, it doesn't matter what we do in this room if you don't do these two things: eat right and sleep well, because you're wasting it. So without a doubt, sleep, nutrition, all right, is a huge part of recovery, and it's going to propel what we do here in the weight room.
Awesome. That's a great message. And we have our first winner of the Strength T-shirt. UNLV Strength T goes to Mike D, UNLV Marketing. Oh, that one, in fact. Yeah, thank you. Our model, Mike D, UNLV Marketing, will be in touch. And you talk about strength and conditioning, being bigger, faster, and stronger. There's 130 strength coaches out there who are trying to do that. You have got a fourth quarter plan here that you think is going to separate UNLV from the conference and from the country. How do you plan on getting that done?
Well, we're lucky, and we did get through the fourth quarter program this year. So while we didn't get spring ball, we made huge strides with implementing our first steps of the fourth quarter program. And it's something that we started we didn't really start it. It's adapted over time, but we took it and we modeled it to the University of Georgia when we were there with Coach Fyle at Oregon. We modeled it around Oregon, did a little bit over at the University of Maryland. So we've kind of shaped it, right? The first step, and when you go to a new program or you're new to a program, is evaluation, right? What do we have to tweak? Where do we need to go? And the processes that we need to go through to get there. Not only that period is a good time. It's the first time that our position coaches can now get on the field with our team, right? So, I mean, the overarching message that we ask ourselves going into the fourth quarter program is, does this make us better at football, right? Because we've spent tons of time in the weight room. We're training hard. We're doing agility drills and strength conditioning drills during that time. But then once we get in the fourth quarter program, now we're getting a little bit position specific. And then the coaches can get in the mix, right? So just as much as it is about winning in November and winning the fourth quarter, it's also building those meaningful relationships when when it's hot outside, when it's, when stuff is kind of hard, and don't get me wrong. I mean, Coach Arroyo and myself, we met with the staff and we told them, hey, now you think this fourth quarter program is like all about the players, you better hydrate and get some sleep, right? Because it's no joke on coaches and staff and players. I mean, but it was amazing. It's continue to be amazing when we do flip the switch back to some, however the landscape changes during the summer, we're going to implement a couple of those weeks again. It's just huge for our program and these student athletes.
And also injury prevention. You talk about the best ability being availability. Sometimes it's not the most talented team, it's the healthiest team that makes the bowl game or makes a run at conference. How do you incorporate that type of training into your philosophy?
Yep. So injury prevention is kind of it's a very, very important topic. Prevention, more so mitigating the risk, right? So you have rehab. Well, that's something that you do after you get hurt. Well, what we focus on is prehab. Why do I need to wait till I get hurt to start doing something? So some of those same rehabilitation exercises, we do them in here. We do shoulder prehab every single time these guys come in the weight room. We'll do TKEs for our knees, our hips. We have a hip series, right? So we are big on prehab. We are proactive. We are a proactive staff program. And so every time we come in here, we're focusing on some preventative measurements that we can take that'll better kind of build the iron jacket for these guys.
The iron jacket is a great analogy. And just drifting away from the weight room here a little bit, Coach, we got a question from Brent M. What do you like to do outside of your job? Let's get to know the man.
Yeah. Training, obviously. Me and my wife like to kind of get after it in the weight room. We put a little rack in our garage. And so, actually the last 3 months we've been, fighting for space in our garage, but we like to train together, hanging out with the kids. We have a 14, a 12, and a 3-year-old. So, we've been hiking. My wife sets us up a hike every weekend. So we'll go do that. And sometimes, I like to golf a little bit here and there when I can.
No, you're an outdoors guy. So Las Vegas, until you move here, you don't quite realize all the various and diversity of things you can do outside. Mountains, Lake Mead, or what have you found that you like?
The hikes are amazing, right? So there was a short time at the beginning of the quarantine where everything wasn't really shut down, right? So we would go out to Red Rock every weekend, which is amazing. Mount Charleston, we drove up there. We jumped in the Jeep one day to go hiking, and then there was still the snow caps. So we kind of veered off and just, a 2-hour loop. And then there's Lake Mead, which is amazing. Like you said, there's so much stuff to do. We haven't even scratched the surface yet. We've been here since January.
Real quick, back to you and your wife fighting for time. Couples that live together stay together, it sounds like.
That's right.
That's an awesome dynamic.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. She's a beast in the weight room. I'll tell you what, she gets after it. She pushes me. I feel like I become like the student there.
Yeah, so she coaches you, because you got to be careful. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And we've got our second winner of the coveted T-shirts. It's Mark S. UNLV Marketing will be in touch, Mark. And Coach, want to model that T-shirt one more time? Pretty impressive. You want to look like Coach Fyle. You're on your way. And I know, Desiree, you love to get out there and you're big into hiking, big into exercising outside. Can you co-sign what he says about all the different types of hikes and explorations you can go on in Las Vegas?
Absolutely. I love to get out there and go camping and backpacking. And my 16-year-old son, Jackson, and I went up to Mount Charleston last week and we did a overnight backpacking trip, and it was awesome. People don't realize how, if you love the outdoors, there's just so much to do here in Las Vegas, and we're so fortunate. So yeah, same thing. And we found that little couple secret trails, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's the key. Finding places that don't have a lot of footpath on them. I mean, and just kind of finding your own serenity out there. And there are options out here.
Absolutely. And across from Red Rock, if you park at like these stables, I shouldn't be telling everybody this. If you park at these stables across the street, like there's this, like you can go up these mountains, and it's an awesome, like if you want to do like a 4:30 a.m. run, it's like an 8-mile loop, and it's fantastic.
Oh, there you go. I mean, that's a great recommendation. And we've got another question from Justin M. Coach, and he says he's a huge UNLV fan, and he appreciates your service. What do you like best about living in Las Vegas beyond the outdoor activities, Coach?
Well, I haven't really got to explore too much. We've been in quarantine for the last 3 months. I mean, it's an amazing city, right? So before the quarantine, me and my wife will go downtown and kind of walk the strip and kind of take it all in. Yeah, I mean, again, I really haven't got to scratch the surface too much on it, but I could walk right out here to our practice fields and look out and see the strip and the amazing lights. It's just a very dynamic city. It's amazing. So we're gonna look into exploring a little bit more here.
Desiree?
Thank you. Coach Fyle, one thing, we've had some record academic performances. I think we had 53 student athletes above a 3.0. The overall department GPA is a 3.22. Tell me, you really have done a great job with the holistic development of the student athlete. Can you talk a little bit more about that and the whole sports performance team, and how I know Coach Arroyo, I've heard him talk about he wants them competing in every facet of their life.
Mm-hmm. So our first thing that we did here, not obviously, but is creating structure, right? So Coach Arroyo and I have sat down, and it is outlined minute by minute. And regardless of what they tell you, 17 to 22-year-old guys, they yearn for that structure. And we have an amazing academic advisor in David Wedley and his crew. I mean, they do an awesome job interacting. Like when I first got here, I went and stayed in David Wedley's office for the first week and a half. He had the best pulse on this football team, and his relationships are the relationships that I yearn to build. And it's the whole sports performance team communicating and working together with one common goal is what's going to help our athletes be successful. So we're doing a really good job creating that structure and creating that positive culture. And then just like you saw at the very beginning of the quarantine, these kids love competition. Anytime that we can, positively influence them through competition, we're going to do it. So, and they've done great. Just like you said, our academic numbers speak for themselves. These guys have absolutely done an amazing job in the classroom, which is what we want. Like our biggest thing, I'm a strength coach. I don't dictate playing time. I'm in the weight room. That's my deal. But our staff philosophy is we want to win football games, and we're going to win football games, and a lot of them. But I want to build meaningful relationships that build better men, better husbands, brothers, sons. And when they come back and, 5 years after they graduate and they walk into this weight room and all we have to talk about is sets and reps, I've failed, right? A barbell weighs 45 pounds in every weight room in the country, but it's the relationships. I mean, that's got to be the 20th time I've said relationships in this webinar, but it's that important, right? So while we're going to, our motto is to pick up heavy things and put it down, but it's so much bigger than sets and reps for the longevity of their success and ours.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And we got a great question here from Brandon. He says, as someone who has found their purpose in coaching, what do you plan to pass to your athletes' psychological approach toward the game?
Well, we instituted the mindset program, which is another piece of our fourth quarter program. We kind of touch on it a little bit in the winter, but then we go in and we dive really deep in our mindset and being 1-0. You hear Coach Arroyo say 1-0 all the time. And what that means is not, winning the week or winning the day. It means winning the moment, that moment, what's in front of you, right? The guys make fun of me, but I'm like, here's the smallest thing. You wake up in the morning, you make your bed, you're 1-0. You continue going. And, that mindset program, it also is going to help develop them. Like they're going to get hit right? They're gonna take a step back, or they're gonna get knocked back. But it's how we react to those steps back that are gonna define us. So that's, build, and that starts with our mindset. How we do anything, all right, is how we do everything.
Awesome. Just words could not be more true there. And another one from Daniel here is, Coach, what is your personal favorite workout for the team?
Flex Friday, of course.
What is that?
Yeah. So we'll go through, we squat heavy depending on what phase of training we're in on Fridays. It's where they have the most time to recover before coming back that next week into a new week of training. So we'll squat, we'll turn the music up loud, get going. Like you heard Justice say on March 13th, our last day in, I got a DJ in, and he was going crazy, strobe lights. Like we called it Club UNLV, right? It was amazing. And Justice, when I said I haven't reached his level, and no one has it. I mean, he squatted 635 pounds, and he was like, I can go more. I was like, Justice, we're good, man. I think he still holds a little bit of a grudge for me shutting him down that day. But yeah, and then we get into Flex Friday. After we get our work done, we want to have some fun. So it's 100 buys, it's 100 tries, and we do 100 shrugs. All right. So we'll blow up. I have the guys roll their sleeves up. We got to have fun. I mean, look, football is supposed to be fun, and there's a lot of these student athletes. What people don't understand is they get pulled in a lot of directions. Everybody wants something, right? If you're the tutor, they want your attention, at which everything that is wanted or asked for them is for their success. But if you put yourself in their shoes, it's still somewhat, I want them to come in with great energy, and I want them to lift heavy or lift with intent, right? So everybody wants something. Let's have some fun, like if I blow their arms up and they're flexing in the mirror, they're flexing on each other. Like, that's a good week to me. Like, send them out the door, pumped up a little bit. That's what it's all about.
So Coach mentioned the 635 pounds that Justice can squat. Well, what you may not also know about Justice, his GPA is a 3.37.
Dual threat.
That's the statistic that appeals to my heart. All the squats are great too.
No, that's a great point. And you talk about having fun, Coach, and what this program can offer that others can't. Allegiant Stadium, 2 billion reasons why that is, the best platform for college football. Why is it so special to you, Coach?
Well, from our first tours, when we started recruiting early in January, we went over there to take a tour prior to the recruits getting here, and we're like, I mean, it's unbelievable. Words can't describe. You literally, you have to, driving by it takes your breath away, and then you step and you're like, okay, it's taking my breath away. All right, it's a stadium. Let me walk through the door, and then it does it again. You're like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, everywhere that I go as a part of this program is first class. I mean, from playing in Allegiant Stadium, which is unbelievable, to come into the Fertitta football complex and the resources we have here, it's unbelievable. They started putting the turf, and we started seeing the pictures. I mean, from the locker room to everything is just first class.
And they're going to make history by stepping into it. You're going to be the first UNLV team to step foot on the most technologically advanced stadium ever. That's special.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. August 29th, it's on.
No, it is, no doubt. And we've got our final winner of the Nike workout bundle. It's Yvette M. UNLV marketing team will be in touch. Congratulations, Yvette. And Coach, as we think about the program and we think about where we were and where we want to be, these guys are hungry. You talk to Chuck Williams, you talk to Justice, you talk to some of these guys who have been here, and they want to make history. When you're working with athletes like that, how much does that motivate you?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I almost interrupted Justice while he was talking. And he kept saying that we motivate them through our energy and stuff like that. But I told him after a run one day, I'm like, your effort and the way that you strain motivates us. And this team is amazing. That literally, I mean, I don't want to say it does. I mean, it makes my job easier. These guys, they handle themselves like professionals, which is what, that was one of my first messages. Handle yourself like a pro. This is what you do. Take it serious, put intent behind it. They have been, even through the 3 months, like we're back voluntary lifting right now, and guys are coming in, and you never know what you're going to get. 3 months off. I mean, Coach Arroyo comes down, he's like, how we doing? Like, what do you think? 3 months off? I'm like, Coach, I know you can't be in a part of this thing right now, but you're going to be shocked, and happily so. So these guys, they work as hard as any team I've ever been a part of.
Well, this has been awesome to get our virtual pump on. And as we close out, let's hear from Dietary and then Coach on your final thoughts as we go into the weekend on Flex Friday.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, just thank you. Thank you for taking the time to sit here and listen to us. And we are really proud of this talented group of coaches and student athletes. And you heard from Coach Fyle, you heard from Justice. John's feeling it too. We are going to work really hard to make this community proud. But we need you. So we need to see you on August 29th. This is an incredible stadium. This is a world-class city. And we need everybody. We need to link arms right now virtually, but in person on August 29th. And we need to fill that stadium. And let's show the world what Las Vegas can be with football. So go make sure and buy your tickets, unlvtickets.com. They're a great value.
Awesome. Coach?
Yep. I think Desiree teed it up perfectly. August 29th. I can tell you one thing. You'll never have a doubt in your mind what team's going to step out on the field on Saturdays. It's going to be a team that strains and gives it all, whistle to whistle. We're excited to be here. The momentum has already begun. It's not slowing down. We're not taking the foot off the gas. I'm excited. I'm humbled to be a part of this program and to be around these student athletes and coaching staff. We're going to do big, big things.
Nothing great is ever achieved without enthusiasm. As you can see, the program is oozing enthusiasm. And again, Allegiant Stadium, the history, you can experience it for just $20 a ticket, and that is a great deal. And season is coming around, and this has been an honor to be with you. And here I'm at my own station here, but I'm wearing my red. I'm pumped for the season. I want to see the history too. So thank you so much for joining day 4 of the Rebel Caravan with Athletic Director Desiree Reed-Francois and Strength Coach Matt Fyle. This has been a great experience, guys. Have a great weekend.
John, we appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for being with us.
Awesome.
All right, go get your 100 buys, 100 tries.